It's a book people wanted forever. And they got so excited, and we unlocked like 13 stretch goals or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening was people that backed the project got a leather-bound, oversized hardcover, slipcase, gold gilded pages, a bonus book, a ribbon bookmark, a digital download card with bonus content on that. And they also know that we did this together. And people that wanted to support me personally took pride in the fact that they know I've got a Nightmare World Bible. I've got the Bible edition. I'm an OG, man. I supported Dirk. He was my dude. And then there's the people that just wanted a really amazing version of this book, this comic series, which they loved so much. And then there's people that just wanted a cool looking book.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. And the thing is, then for me, my obligation is never reprint the Bible. Never reprint that Kickstarter exclusive version is that Kickstarter exclusive version. We printed it to order, a little bit of an overage. I have a couple extra copies here and there that on rare occasions I'll take one out of my vault and donate it for like a charity or something like that. Or, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I will sell one just to sell one, but I have done them for different events, but that's how you successfully utilize it. And I see people now who do much bigger Kickstarters than me. People like Brian Polito, for example, is a monster on Kickstarter, but he cultivates his tribe, and he offers his readers
quite the tribe.
He does. And I love Brian. Brian did the introduction to the first Nightmare World trade I ever had published. Mm-hmm. Brian's a good dude, but he also knows what his Lady Death people want, mm-hmm. and he caters to that. High-end artists doing sexy Lady Death covers, oftentimes you can only get through him.
And look, man, like if you're in the comics industry, and I've been blessed to be able to be in the comics industry, you understand that there's a subsection of comics for everybody. And
absolutely.
And Brian understands that particular subsection of comics happens to wield hefty wallets, and as a result, he's been very successful.
He found his tribe.
This is not to say that Brian is doing this for money. Brian is very passionate about this.
Very passionate.
And that translates. But the fact of the matter is, again, going back to the theme of both can be true. And I think that's really important to come back to.
Is not the dream, I'm not going to say the American dream, but the dream in general, to be able to sustain yourself on your passion?
Yes.
Right? And the thing is, if I can give people joy for their money and give them joy, everybody wins. Everybody wins. And that's the other key to running a successful Kickstarter. Everybody wins. The publisher wins, the creators win, the people that backed it win. Everybody wins. Everyone can win. It goes back to, we talked about why wrote right or wrong, because everyone should be able to do this. Everybody can win. Grow the pie, make the industry bigger and better and more accessible for everyone. That's it. It's not a competition. Your book can exist and my book can exist, and I want everyone to be able to make what the hell they want, find what they want, enjoy what they want, love what they want, and be able to afford to keep doing it.
It feels like backward engineering here, but I think what's important to kind of pivot to is to talk about this community building piece, and the Kickstarter stuff, stands a little bit aside the community building aspect, because it's digital and it's there, and you're relying a lot on word of mouth and getting shared in the right places and that sort of thing. But it all starts, in a very simple way, and I think artists and writers can learn a lot from the way that Dirk does this. I have been fortunate enough to be watching Dirk do this sort of thing for a long time, 4 or 5 years at conventions. but there are very few that work as hard as Dirk does in Artist Alley.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for seeing that and for saying that.
yeah,
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
When you go to Dirk's booth in Artist Alley, you rarely see him sitting down, unless he's eating or taking a micro break. I won't even say mini.
That's not even if I'm sitting, like I said, it's usually because I'm hiding behind my books, stuffing like a piece of food in my mouth, and so people don't see me chewing.
A convention center hot dog down his throat as fast as possible.
It's true.
It is.
In fact, a lot of times I pack like granola bars and like things that like I can eat that won't get cold, that'll still be edible. They don't have to be warm. It's like granola bars or things like that. But sorry.
No. Dirk works at conventions. When you walk through Artist Alley, there are a couple different archetypes of Artist Alley booths that you'll walk by, and Dirk is probably the most successful of them, and that's the guy who engages people. He doesn't bark at people. Now you'll see that archetype as well, but yeah, tell me about it. Full disclosure, I work for a company that puts on these conventions, and so I get a lot of kind of FaceTime with these sorts of people. What Dirk does better than anybody is he presses flesh, and that's not just a horror-esque sort of way of saying he knows how to talk to people and knows how to make friends, but it really goes back to Dale Carnegie. It's about winning friends and making friends and influencing people. And Dirk does I can't think of enough superlatives to kind of put into words exactly the kind of job you do at it, but you have to see it to really understand the kind of connections that Dirk makes almost instantly with people. I think there's a lot of positives to it. I think there can be negatives to it as well. But I want you to talk a little bit about your strategy at conventions, how it's evolved over the years, because it's not something that we've talked about, and how you learned exactly how this was going to work. And maybe there's a time or two that you can pinpoint where you went, wait a second, this is translating to, these fans that I'm talking to at shows are translating to dollars month over month and year over year compounding, because I've not only gotten a fan, but, and I'm not saying that it's disingenuous on your part. What I'm saying here is that they feel you are also a friend. And that doesn't mean you're not. It just means that they feel a certain way. There's this loyalty that's engendered as a result.
Sure.
But talk a little bit about that and what difference it's made for you in terms of becoming a writer who is, almost entirely self-sustaining.
Yeah, and I'm going to go backwards too. And that example you talked about, and I'm pointing this out only because to drive my point home about how you almost stumble a minute, like it's not that you're not friends with these people, but these people also support you.
Right.
And it becomes very dicey. And I'm going to use this analogy. I think many of us have gone to support certain restaurants or certain bars, I'll say restaurants, where maybe the food's not as great, but we love the people.
Especially in the middle of a pandemic. Absolutely.
Right. I could go anywhere, but I'm going to this Denny's or this hole-in-the-wall coffee shop or hole-in-the-wall grill because I really like the owner. Or I'm continuing to go to this comic shop because I really like the comic guy there. It's not that I don't have an affection for that person, because I do. And but I'm also giving them that money because I'm getting something I like, but I also like giving it to that person.
Again, it's both.
And that's right. You can have both. It's okay. It's funny because you talked about how good I am at talking to people at conventions and stuff like that, and you know me personally, so and we have hung out outside of work again, not to pull back the curtain too far, but we're friends, like you said, and we've hung out in a non-work environment, and you've seen me in a non-work environment, so you can testify to this when people will laugh. I'm an introvert. When I'm not working, I'm good, man. I'm a writer. I'm a reader. I'm a reader and a writer. And those are solitary activities. I've just been redesigning my office and literally slowly building walls around my writing space so that I'll just be totally contained in here, in the bowels of a library. My happiest places were in the bowels of a library somewhere where no one could find me with my books.
It's fascinating. It really is.
But now that being said, when I started doing shows, the sales approach, I don't want to say sales because that's not true. I'm not sales motivated. I'm truly.
Man, look, again, it can be both. And take this from a sales guy, right?
Right. I know I'm going to offend you saying that, but go ahead.
No. It doesn't offend me at all. I understand. I understand entirely. And again, language alert, we're assholes. Sales guys are assholes. But there is sales in every interaction you have as a person your entire life.
There is, but now I'm going to twist that a little bit because I'm going to stand by the fact, and this is true, I am not sales motivated. However, what I am motivated to do is find my tribe. Now, there are people, and you've alluded to this, in an artist alley at a comic convention who only want to push out their product to cover their costs to make X amount of money. And I get it. I am not flush with cash to the point that I can afford to go to any convention and not make money. However, I'm not a carnival barker. I'm not pushing my product on people who I don't think will enjoy it. I've seen guys that stand in my least favorite thing in the world. I actively despise this. People shout down people to come to their table, or they stand in front of their table and are literally pushing their product into people's hands and then telling them to give them money for it.
I won't say names here, but I know we both are thinking of the same name right now.
There's a couple of them. Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah. And you know what? It's disgusting and it's pathetic. And yeah, I said it. And I try to be a nice guy all the time, but objectively, again, they might argue, well, I got to make sales, man. I got to, how am I going to get, again, I believe in my book so much. I believe if you put it in people's hands, they'll like it. Yeah, me too. I'll put Nightmare World against anything. I will put Nightmare World against any book in any genre, any day, any time, any writer, any creator. Go. Man, you like that heat? Whew.
It's about.
I'm cutting a wrestling promo here, but here's my point.
Yep.
I'm not interested when I buy a table at a convention, when I buy space, or on occasions when I'm given space. There's still a cost. I'm giving up my time. I'm giving up my energy. I'm giving, there's like something I'm investing in this, but I write that investment off the moment I make the investment. So if I'm getting a table,
it's sunk cost. Yes.
Right. That is the expense put in. Okay. Now, when I'm there, my goal is to find people who will like my stuff and introduce them to it. And I'll never forget, back in the day, I used to do 2 conventions a year. I used to do Wizard World Chicago and Pittsburgh Comic-Con. I could only afford to do 2 shows a year. And even originally I could only afford to do 1. And I would save up all year to do 1 convention because that's all the slush fund money I had. I was working 2 jobs. I was in graduate school, getting my master's degree, all this stuff. Okay. So, but I'll never forget, I was at Pittsburgh Comic-Con with Josh Ross, who's the illustrator on Tales of Mystery and the most prolific of the Nightmare World artists, did more Nightmare World stories than anybody. And I remember I'm sitting there. Notice what I said, Gabe. I was sitting there. And I'm looking at the table. And we had some little self-published Nightmare World books. And Josh had his stuff. And I'm looking at the table from behind the table. And I'm like, this is really good stuff. And I'm going to go back to that promo I cut a moment ago. In fact, one of those self-published books, Gabe, they were all Nightmare World flip books. They're 2 stories per book. Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, you read one 80-page story, then you flip it over and read the other one. Then there's some back middle matter that would break the two stories apart. One of them was Same Deep Water as You, your favorite story. So good stuff, right? And it's sitting on the table.